Good afternoon. This is Trey Hargett. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2019. Today we'll be discussing the state of Tennessee's economy based on information and data from first quarter of 2019 outlined in the Tennessee Quarterly Business Economic Indicators Report. The report is published through a partnership between my office and the University of Tennessee Knoxville's Boyd Center for Business Economic Research. Joining me today is Dr. William F. Fox, who serves as the center's director. The report offers a snapshot of the state's economy based on business data from the Business Services Division of the Secretary of State's office. Let me begin by making some key observations from the report. Our Business Services Division processed 12,512 new entity filings in the first quarter of 2019, a 9% increase compared to the first quarter of 2018. This marked 30 consecutive quarters of positive growth year over year in Tennessee. Annual report filings also increased 4.4% in the first quarter of 2019 compared to 2018, which means not only is Tennessee experiencing new business growth, the climate is also good for existing businesses. Our Business Services Division processed 157,033 annual reports in the first quarter. Last point I'll make is we've seen healthy indicators in the job market as well. For example, employment in Tennessee's strong manufacturing sector grew by 2.2%, or 7,500 jobs in March compared to March of 2018. And the state unemployment rate has held steady at an all-time low of 3.2% in February and March. We'll take questions shortly. First, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Fox. Dr. Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's certainly a privilege to be with you today. Let me just reiterate some points that the Secretary made already and put them in a context that I'm thinking about. As he noted, there's been 9% growth in new filings during this past quarter. That's a little slower than we had seen in the previous four quarters, but the thing to keep in mind is the previous four quarters just had extraordinary growth. If we look at the context of the last 5 years, this was still a very, very good quarter, suggesting we should expect economic growth through the remainder of 2019 on into 2020. June will mark the longest economic expansion in the history of the U.S., at least the modern history. And what this says is we're just going to keep it going for another year. As the Secretary noted, we've had 4.4% growth in annual reports. And what that really says to us is, there's sort of 4.5% more businesses operating in Tennessee this year than, at the end of this year than last year when we net out the effect of businesses that closed. Again, saying really good sustained growth in Tennessee. One thing I found really encouraging was that the growth throughout Tennessee and the growth in the four biggest cities was about the same rate. What that tells us is that growth is taking place through the whole state, and it's not concentrated in just a couple of cities. On the economic front, as the Secretary noted, the unemployment rate is at historic lows. As we continue to see this growth that we expect through 2019 into 20, we're going to see an unemployment rate that likely falls a little more. And so we're going to likely break the historical record yet again. And a final note is that the sales tax demonstrates the strength of the economy. We've had 5.7% growth in Tennessee's sales tax over this fiscal year to date. And again, just signaling an economy that's strong and is going to continue to grow in a robust fashion through the next year. Mr. Secretary, there are some comments. Be happy with you to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. I know that you're always the star of this show, so I know people want to ask you some questions.
Yes, Dr. Fox, Richard Lovett to WJCW Radio in Tricities. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Mr. Lovett. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir, doing well. You mentioned that growth is across all 95 counties, if you will, not just the four major metro areas. That's a pretty good thing to see, isn't it? The fact that the business growth is spread out literally from Mountain City to Memphis.
It is a really good thing to see. Tricities hasn't grown quite as fast as several other cities, but continues to see economic growth. And I know myself, but certainly the political leaders in the state are anxious to see growth that's spread out and benefiting people across the state. And that's again what these data say are taking place. And so really good news.
This is Jamie McGee, the Tennessean. I was interested in the personal income expectations or wage expectations. What have we seen in recent months, and what are your expectations going forward?
Sure. What we've seen so far in this last quarter is personal income growth a little above 4%. That's in nominal terms. So take out inflation of a little less than 2%, and it tells us that personal income is up in real terms a little over 2, maybe 2.5%. Pretty good. We all still want to see better wage growth, and we're beginning nationally as well as in Tennessee to see a little better wage growth. As this labor market has gotten so tight, employers are finding it difficult to find the workers that they're looking for, and so it's pushing up wages. Economists have been surprised how slowly wages have have risen given the length of the expansion and the tightness of the labor market. But the signals are that finally we're beginning to see better wage growth.
Can I just clarify, the personal income is above 4%. Is that for Tennessee or nationally?
It's actually a little better in Tennessee. I think I'm just checking to make sure I'm exactly right. Yeah, we report for Tennessee 4.2% that's actually for the fourth quarter of 2018. The data are lagged just a little bit more. For the U.S., it was just a little bit slower than that in the most recent data I'm looking for the number here. I'm sorry. I'm just not, my eyes aren't falling on it like they should. It's 4.1 in the
Great,
U.S.
Thank you.
So slightly slower.
Yes, Dr. Fox. Richard Lovett again. Just had a follow-up of this sort. You mentioned that growth is projected to continue for the rest of 19 ended. Any concerns about how the U.S.-China trade war might impact what we see?
Yeah, so our projection is in part based on our economic forecast we prepare here in our office, but also we find that these new entity filings are a good leading indicator for the economy. And so one of the reasons to look at them is they signal where we can expect the economy in the next 6 to 9 months to head, and they continue to evidence very strong expectations. Now, of course, when that happened, we also have a lot of things going on in the world that are reason for concern. Certainly, the Chinese trade is still a reason for concern. The stock market, as you know, this week has reacted negatively to concerns that we won't have a trade deal. But we don't think that the failure to reach a trade deal, and we'll all see what happens over the coming weeks, but whether or not we have a trade deal, the U.S. economy is mostly a domestic economy, and consumers are spending, businesses are investing, and the government, of course, is spending pretty heavily. You put all of that together, it says to me we're going to see economic growth through 2019, even if there's not a trade deal. Now, last year, as you probably know, we had just a little bit under 3% GDP growth. We probably won't be quite that strong this year, but it's important to keep in mind what I'm expecting this year is us to grow at the rate that's consistent with full capacity of the economy, with an unemployment rate in the low 3%. This is a really good economy, even if GDP growth is a little slower than last year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. And again, this will be recorded and posted later on the Secretary of State's website. And we thank you all again.